More and more that movie went on, I was like, oh, I'm not gonna cry. It's sad, but I'm not gonna cry. Then more sad stuff happened. I was like, nah, it's super sad, but still not gonna cry. Then the entire third act happened, and oh my god.
I should have stopped him. I need to think about my family.
Your job is to wrestle.
Live up to that deal, or we are through.
I told you to look out for him!
I just love being out there with you guys. It's the only thing that matters to me.
The Bonner will forever be the greatest family in the history of wrestling.
And today we have the Iron Claw. I want to preface this whole review by saying that I keep messing up the word Von Erich, and I think there's a few times in this review that I do say Von Elric by accident, so please forgive me. Every time that you hear me saying Von Elric, in my head, I think I'm saying Eric, so it's just me being a dummy dum-dum, but I'm trying to say Von Erich. A film that I didn't see coming. A24, have they... I gotta go back and look. At first I was thinking they hadn't produced or backed any sports films or sport adjacent films, but maybe there's something I'm missing.
You're the baby I've been calling my own. Oh me, oh my, you're about the meanest baby I've known, and he's just one.
But in any case, they announced this and the internet went wild. It's the male gaze in terms of like wrestling and the respect for that, I'll call it a sport. And also the female gaze, because we got 3 tan boys, chiseled abs, muscly and all this. They're just oily and greasy and running around Texas. The Iron Claw is directed by a Sean Durkin, and there's a message from him about the film that I do want to touch on toward the end of the review. I don't want to bog down the beginning. It's very touching and sweet, and gives me even more respect for both him and this film, so I will get to that. Never heard of the fella, and in terms of his filmography, he's more of a producer on things I saw than a director. He hasn't directed a whole lot, but what's most notable for him, if we're going to go down that road, the last full-length feature film he directed was in 2020, a film called The Nest. But more recently, as in this year, he also directed a few episodes of a show called Dead Ringers. So again, never heard of it, but technically this man is involved in the industry. I'd say this is probably going to be his breakout film in terms of what he's now most well known for, and I think his most well-reviewed film as well. As a full cast, we have, the main ones, of course, to go over, since this is portraying the real-life family of the Von Elrics, who I didn't know about until this film came out. We have the 3 brothers-in-arms. Well, 2 of them, one of them is a household name, one of them is basically a household name, and the other one's actually a really good character actor, I feel. But we have Zac Efron. He's undeniably the lead and the heart of this film. He's almost kind of a character actor too. The second most well-known one, but you have Jeremy Allen White, formerly of Shameless fame, but now of The Bear fame. And then the one that you probably might not recognize the name, but he's been in more than you think, Harris Dickinson. I love him. I think the last film that I covered him on was his role in Triangle of Sadness, but he was also in The King's Man. He keeps getting cast in roles in films that vary wildly in their genres. And the last one I want to give an honorable mention, a shout out to. It's a shame because I know this man mainly due to his brilliant performance in the canceled in its prime show Mindhunter as FBI Special Agent Bill Tench. Holt McCallany. I love this man. I think he's a great actor. I'm glad to see him getting more and more roles. What's unfortunate is those that don't know him from from Mindhunter are not going to be like, oh, it's that piece of shit dad from Iron Claw. I'm like, no, don't know him and then hate him. He does a very good job of playing just a character that's easy to dislike. Here's the thing. I always preface sports movies by saying this, is that I don't really care about sports too much. It's not my bread and butter, but I think that the mark of a good film, and in this case the mark of a good sports film, is if you can make me care about the sport and about the film, even though I don't care about sports, that's a good film for you. And then also wrestling in general. I used to not have much respect for wrestling. I'll admit, I had a character arc myself. I was one of those people that would look at it and be like, it's all just show and pomp and circumstance, and it's all fake was the big one, or like, oh, I'm the wrestling fans, what are these people doing? Like, what's going on? But as the years have gone on, I've come around to respecting the sport of wrestling, what it used to be, what it's been, and even what it kind of still is now. And it's something that if I had gotten into it as a kid, I'm sure that I'd be more into it now, but I can still watch it and be entertained. Like, sure, there's a lot of stuff that's predetermined and orchestrated, but to be fair, I'm sure a lot of sports are that way anyway. Sure, a lot of it is choreographed, but still, what you gotta realize is, there's a reason these dudes are yoked. Like, even if you have the whole show choreographed in a somewhat predetermined outline, to pull off these things, I can't do that. You think I'm gonna stand on the top rope of a wrestling ring, throw my body, turn it horizontally, and then use that to tackle somebody? No shot. Look at this. Like, there's no shot I'm gonna do that. Athleticism and strength and like will and tenacity, as the Finnish would say, the sisu, the grit involved in the sport is commendable, and this film really shows that. I guess we're getting right into the pros, aren't we? By being able to balance between this like family drama of the Von Elrichs, but also the wrestling, and to show you it's not just a bunch of grown men in spandex that are like, aha, are you not entertained? And then doing twirls and somersaults and fake punches. It just jumps and throwing your body around, and especially if it gets out of the ring, then you're on cement. But like, and some of these punches make contact. There's like, nowadays, I don't know how much it goes, but back in the day, that's real blood you're seeing, and cage matches, and people flying through tables and chairs, and clotheslining each other, and putting each other in holds, and in this case, the iron claw, and you're just squeezing somebody's skull with a lot of pressure. There's so much physicality to it. I think part of the marketing was genius for this film in showing these like yoked, muscly, chiseled, tan, dehydrated boys. For one, brings butts in seats, but also just shows you, I mean, that's their dad was pushing them that hard, and just like keep pushing your body and growing the muscle and the mass and bulking up. But what this film excels in is that it's not even, I mean, yes, it's about wrestling, but it's more about this family. And this film really, really is more about generational trauma, and showing you that it's as the years have gone on, and as generation after generation becomes more and more emotionally intelligent. Granted, it's not that way across the board, but what family dynamics, like what mothers and fathers, but in this case for this film especially, fathers and sons used to be back in the day, has like, I hesitate to use the word softened, but it's become something that's more meaningful, more impactful, and less like masculine and toxic, and more still like really what it truly means to be a man. Like, in this film shows that. It shows like the cost that the Von Elrich family paid by the father pushing these kids and getting instilled these negative mindsets and these self-destructive tendencies that ended up being the death of most of them, until finally our leading man here was eventually able to break away from the family and quote-unquote break the curse and be able to perpetuate a healthier lineage of his family's bloodline and name. Camera work is nothing too fancy, but the way that a lot of shots are set up, the cinematography is nice, both on characters and lighting, and how they handle just the characters in their scenes. It's all really good. I remember there's one especially toward the end, one of the last like main wrestling matches, but there's a couple good one takes. I know there was one really good one take that I liked a lot, but just the direction in tandem with the wrestling and the family drama, it's all handled really well. The acting is great, no complaints there. All members of the Von Elrich family play their part well. Ancillary characters come in and play it well. In the beginning, put aside the rampant religion, toxic masculinity, and the what I'm sure is rampant racism aside, and it almost makes like late 70s Texas look like a fun place to be. Just hang out, have some brewskis, and go watch the game and whatnot, you know. I don't recall the music standing out too much. I remember the music, like when there was music, it was used to good effect, but I think they let just more of the Foley work, and then the natural soundscape of the film speak for itself. I think if I had to give this film any notes, it would just be there's mild pacing issues here and there. It is a longer film. When the bad stuff first starts happening, which I think is mostly in Act 2, if I had to remember correctly. The pacing is almost like, oh, bad, boom, boom, things just suddenly happen. And I get it, you're trying to pull from source material and you're trying to like dramatize and make this into a movie, when in reality things, I'm sure, were only told as like from like witnesses or secondhand accounts, and you kind of have to have some gentle ventures into, well, here's how we think this could have happened, but how can we make this look presentable for a film? So most of it translates well, some of it doesn't translate as well, and I think that affects the pacing a little bit, but it's a minor complaint. Overall, I won't get bogged down too much into this, but I, again, chose to go ya. The A24 just knows how to pick them. For me, this is the first film I've seen by this director, but I would love to see more. I was pleasantly surprised, as I have been frequently throughout this year, to have enjoyed this film as much as I did, and I did not think I was gonna shed too much in the way of tears, but man, that third act kicks in. Whew. Like, it's very emotional, especially if generational trauma gets you, if you have daddy issues, if like sibling trauma gets you and you feel like you have to be the protector of your family. It's very like, just picture Encanto, but people die. Like, it's rough. It's going to be a rough watch for you. People in the showing I went to were actively sobbing towards the end. But as I put in the title of this video, it's a beautiful bummer. It is one of this year's top like beautiful bummers, and I really enjoyed it. And it really helps to kind of cement the newfound respect that I have for both wrestling as a sport in general and the athletes that perform in it, because I mean they're performing, but they're also competing and actively being athletic. But at the same time, in the span of 2 hours, I was introduced to this family that I didn't know existed, and by the end of it I cared about them and I felt for their collective losses, and I'm rooting for them now, and I'm glad they're able to have a better future now. It was much better than I thought it was going to be. It's not without its flaws. There's some pacing issues a little bit, and it lacked the wow factor for me. The third act really sold me on it, but I really enjoyed the movie, but I didn't love it. But I do feel safe in giving The Iron Claw a rock solid 4 out of 5. I give it a 4 out of 5 for sure. It's really good. It's worth a watch. Even if you're like me, you're not into sports, you're not a big wrestling guy, it still has plenty to draw from that'll still grip you, entice you, keep you entertained, and also keep you emotional. I'll end with this, because I'm subscribed to the A24, the AAA24 membership. I get the zines, the newsletters. Every now and then we get like a note from the director. And there's one from Sean Durkin sent out on December 22nd about the film, so I just thought it'd be nice to end on this. If you want to leave, I completely understand, but I'll leave you now with an excerpt from the director's note, Sean Durkin's note to us via email. The Von Erichs have been referred to as the Kennedys of sports. Although there is unthinkable loss within the Von Erich family, The Iron Claw is not about grief and pain. It's about the absence of grief and what can happen when people refuse to examine their pain. Their family story is a small piece of American history, but it digs up the bedrock of a very American and extremely misguided expression of masculinity. A generational mindset that has harmed our culture in ways we are only just beginning to understand. Part family drama, part gothic horror, part sports movie. The Iron Claw is a true Greek tragedy set in the American heartland. It is a story about family, gods, and monsters, fathers and sons. It is a celebration of brotherhood. It is about finding love and learning to love yourself for who you are. It is about battling against the narrow idea of what it means to be a man. It is about chasing glory in the illusions of success. It is about generational strife and questioning the lens with which we are conditioned to see the world in order to find a hopeful new future. And finally, it is a story of resurrection as Kevin shatters the mold of his family creed and breaks the curse, coming out the other side wiser, stronger, and at peace. I hope you cry as much, laugh as much, and enjoy being in the ring with these beautiful brothers as much as I did while making this film. Thank you guys and gals so much for watching. Stay tuned for the next episode of whatever movie I review. And goodbye, travelers.